Doodlebud here. Writing with a fountain pen is just a lovely experience. They're gorgeous to look at. The feel when the nib hits the page is fantastic. However, they can be extremely expensive. So let's just put all these away right now and get started with my top 10 pens for beginners. And also, without breaking the bank, all the pens I'm going to show today is less than $35 US. Of course, the very first pen on that list is going to be the Lamy Safari. Before I continue, really quick, the description will have a bunch of information. It will have links to full reviews on all the pens I go through, along with places you can buy them and even some discount codes, so check that out. So number one, Lamy Safari, as I said, probably the most popular pen that there is in the fountain pen world. For many, this is their very, very first pen. Not only are there nearly endless color options to choose from, the pen is just really rugged. It's made from injection molded ABS plastic. This is a fantastic everyday carry pen. It can really take a beating, has a functional clip, lovely quick slip cap. It posts on there quite nicely. You have an ink window to go with it. It accepts cartridges and converters. Now they are proprietary cartridges and converters made by Lamy, but nonetheless, the pen works fantastically well. Tons of nib options and they're easy to swap. You can actually even just use the cap. Again, I have full reviews on this, but you can just press this down, slide off the nib, and swap it to another nib size that you want, and the nibs are easily available. You go from extra fine up to broad, stubs, left-handed, and all sorts of calligraphy nibs at 1.1, 1.5, and 1.9 millimeter, and there's even some other ones that are out there as well. So lots of nib options, super reliable and dependable. It's priced well. They goes for about $35 Canadian. I think that works out to, I don't know, 25 or so US. So you're getting a really good pen by a really great manufacturer and an affordable price. Again, full reviews, check the description, there'll be information. The number 2 on the list, which I actually really think should be the number 1, I just put this because it is so popular and it's a great pen. But if you're really not sure if you want to get into fountain pens and you haven't bought one yet, just pick one of these up. This is the Jinhao A2. These go for, in Canadian prices, about $4 to $7, so US, I don't know, that's almost free. Probably $2, $3, $4, $5, something like that. And you are just getting a super reliable pen. It comes with a converter on here as well. Now this is the Jinhao size, but you can use cartridges, you can use the converter. There aren't as many nib options, but you go from extra fine, fine, medium, and there's even some bent nibs. I'll have that on another pen a little bit further in the video, but it gives a lovely writing experience to it as well. I've given so many of these pens to people to get them started in the fountain pens. They've all enjoyed it. And as the moment I give one away, I purchase another one as well, just because I think it's just a great pen. It's reliable, it seals well, it's a good size, not too big, not too small. I think this will work for a lot of people. And I think this is such a good starter pen. I'm actually going to give 5 of them away. So how you got to enter is you just become a subscriber. If you haven't, leave a comment down there and I'll just start picking random comments over the next week or two, something like that, until I give 5 of these away. You're going to get to choose your color, your nib option. They're going to come to you from AliExpress. You're going to give me your information and I'll have it shipped right to you. So again, I think this is such a good pen. 5 of them are being given away. Now, if you like something a little bit larger, because it is a nice small kind of compact pen, you can go to one of these here. Now, I'm sort of grouping these together, so we're going to have more than 10 pens total, but there'll be lots of options. So first up, these are 2 of the same pens, just different colors. This is, again, another pen by Jinhao. They are the king of cheap pens, but this is the model X159. Looks exceptionally close, like the Majohn 149, just as this looks like a very popular sailor fountain pen. This one isn't my favorite of the bunch. This one here in the back is, but it's a great starter pen. I think this works out to somewhere around, I don't know, $8, $9, somewhere in that range, probably even cheaper. The nib options aren't extensive. Usually it's extra fine, fine, medium, depending on the buyer, on the seller you choose. They might only have medium nibs as an option. In the description below, I've tried to find ones where they have a few more nib options as well, but you're getting a large nib. So this is a large number 8 size nib. So if you want something a bit of a bigger, larger, thicker pen, cartridge converter, just like the Jinhao A2 was, and it's okay. It's not my absolute favorite. There's a few things about it that I wish were a little bit better, but that's why they have these other models. And again, this is the larger of the bunch. This is the Jinhao 9019. So again, it has the same number 8 size nib, which writes lovely. It's a very, very good nib. They've made some upgrades to this. One of them is the converter. This is a huge converter. This holds well over 2 milliliters of ink. So you got such a big pen, let's put large ink capacity into it, and they did that. And it works great. It seals wonderfully. I'll leave this pen for months at a time. Just see how it does, uncap it, and it writes right away. There's, similar nib options. Sometimes you can do some other ones. There are some sellers that have hand polish versions. They're going to pay a little bit more for that. Again, this goes for a little bit more. I think maybe in the $9 to $10 range, something like that. There's even this version too, where they have a heartbeat nib. I'm going to do a separate video on this. I haven't done yet. I'm not a fan, to be honest, of the heartbeat slit that they have in these nibs. I find they're a little problematic. So I would just go with the regular one if you're looking for a recommendation. But tons of cool colors on these, and they're great. If this is too big, because this is a large pen. So this is the 159 and this is the 9019. I don't own them, but they're essentially very similar pens. They're just a little bit smaller. So there's the model 9016 and the model 9013. So for the ultra beginner that's looking to spend $10 or less, these are the ones I would go to. If you're looking to spend a couple dollars more, a little bit more, these are from Asvine. So again, I'm kind of sneaking double pens, sometimes triple pens under one number, but this is the Asvine P20 and this is the Asvine V126. Canadian prices right around 40 bucks, so US right around $30. Lovely pens. The build construction on these is quite amazing. To be totally honest, for that extra price point, if you're looking to spend a little bit more money and not just a few bucks, $5, something like that. If you're willing to spend a little bit more, I do feel it's worth it. The P20, the P stands for piston, so you can see inside the pen here you have a piston that goes along. They also have a ink window that's within the pen, so you can see your ink level, which is quite nice. The piston's nice and smooth. The construction of the body is fantastic. Threads are great. The clip is really good. Same thing for the V126. The V stands for vac filler. So this is quite a nice system. You just simply pull the piston back here, the plunger rod, depress it, and it will suck up ink. These ones don't take cartridges whatsoever. That's strictly a piston, strictly the vac filler, so these will only be used for bottled ink. So if you don't like bottled ink only, well, these won't be for you. But these are built extremely well, very dependable, and the build quality, the little bit extra that you're spending, I really think it's worth it. The next pen I'm going to show, I have actually gifted someone one of these. Actually, I think a couple people I've gifted these. This is the Pilot Kakuno. So Pilot is, I don't know, to me it's like one of the top, if not the top, fountain pen manufacturer. It is such a fantastic brand. They make all sorts of great pens across all sorts of price ranges. They will have some extremely expensive pens if you want to spend some serious money, but also they have some fantastic pens if you're just getting started. The Pilot Kakuno, again Canadian, goes for around $25, somewhere in that range. Decent nib sizes, extra fine, medium. Not a huge plethora of nib sizes, but it'll get you along. It will do cartridge or converter. It's a Pilot branded filling system, so their cartridges, their converter as well. Super dependable, nice slip cap, seals really well. All sorts of nice colors, and it just works really well. It's faceted, so it'll just sit on the desk. You don't have to worry about it rolling away even when you take the cap off. Some pens, the clip will be there, but the second you take the cap off, the pen will just roll away. This will sit right on there as well. Nice and light, small if you don't want to post it, but if you do want to post it, it's nice and secure, a little bit more length. And this thing just works. It's mega dependable. We're halfway through the list already. Coming up to number 6, it's going to have to be the Kaweco Sport. Now, while it's not my personal favorite, mostly due to its size and my fairly large hands, this pen is many people's favorites. And I consider this pen when I first started getting into fountain pens as well. Small, super portable little pocket pen. You post it, so now it does become a reasonable size. For my hand, it's just like on the cusp. I do prefer something a little bit larger. There are so many colors, it's ridiculous, and a lot of them are gorgeous. Just like this purple one here. This is a special Goldspot edition. I think this thing looks great, and there's just tons and tons of colors out there. Speaking of tons of things, there's lots of nib options too. You can go from extra fine, fine, medium, broad, even double broad, and I think you can possibly get some calligraphy nibs on here as well. It doesn't take a full-size converter, so it does take the international short cartridges, but it won't take the standard international converter. So there is a little Kaweco Sport special little plunger converter they have. It doesn't hold a lot of ink, but for those who want to have a converter, you can pick that up, put that on the pen as well. Very reasonably priced also. I think they're fairly affordable, around $37 here up in Canada. So it's going to be, you know, a low to mid $20 in the US. You can do the pen with the clip or without a clip. It just slides on and off as well. So depending what option, what suits you best, you can choose either way, whatever you want to do with the pen. So lots of great things, and I can see why for many this is an absolute top favorite pen. Now for many, their very first fountain pen is either going to be a Lamy Safari, Kaweco Sport, or a Twsbi Eco. I got a Twsbi Eco very early on in my fountain pen exploration. This was like pen number 2, maybe it was number 3, somewhere in that range. And it's a great pen. So you get a large ink capacity that's in here. It's a demonstrator, so you can see your ink level. Has a nice piston, smooth to operate. Also comes with a toolkit. So this is really cool. I was really impressed with this when I first got a Twsbi Eco. There's a little wrench in here so you can fully take out the whole piston mechanism and assembly along with some grease. And I have used that little Twsbi bottle of grease for so many pens, it's not even funny. This is it here, and after all these years, this is the very first bottle. There's still a little bit left in there. It is going to empty soon, but don't worry, I have another Eco. I'll be bringing out that bottle once this one's empty. Another nice thing, has lots of nib options too. Extra fine, fine, medium, broad, and even a stub. Wonderful thing to do with this is fill it with some of your favorite color inks, and you can just sort of show it off at sun to see the ink on display and the ink level go down. It tells you right away. You don't even have to take the cap off to know your ink level. So I think that's quite nice. It's comfortable. Mine's been very, very dependable and reliable, and also they're affordable. So this is actually, I think, the most expensive pen on the entire list, but 47 Canadian, which translates to a low 30 something, 32, 33, 34 US dollars. Easy to take apart. If you have like a glittery ink or something that you get in here, you can take the nib and feed out. Super simple. Slide it back in there. You're not going to have any problems putting this thing back together. And also it seals quite well, which is very nice for like an everyday carry pen. This has to be one of the best everyday carries. This is the Majohn A1. There's also an A2 model here as well. There is an A3. I'm personally not a fan. What's great about these, if you're not familiar with them, is it clicks and out comes the nib. So no cap that you need to remove. Great for fast stuff and note taking. Like some of these other pens here in the background, it is based off of another very successful pen by Pilot, the Pilot Vanishing Point. But when you're first getting into fountain pens, you might find that a little bit expensive. So this is a very affordable option. Again, these come in about 35 Canadian for the A1, the A2, which is a plastic body. It's faceted as well, which looks like a vintage Pilot Vanishing Point. These go for about 25 Canadian, so convert that to US, and it's very, very reasonable. All sorts of color options, which is great. Also, if you don't like the clip that's on here for your grip, now this doesn't bother me, but it fits right quite nicely. It's sort of natural where that clip is, but for some people it is just a deal breaker. They can't do it. So they have these ones here that are clipless. So there's a little roll stop here so you can hold it however you want. One thing I've noticed, I got this orange one and it's been in a pen case, and the paint's doing that. So I don't know. I'd love to hear from you if you've noticed that, if you have an orange one, if it's done that. I haven't had that happen on any of my other pens, but yeah, just with this orange one. But the clicker is pretty smooth. Like it cannot get any more convenient than that. This is great for students. I saw someone asking the other day, I can't remember if they were a doctor or a nurse, but they wanted a really portable fountain pen. They didn't want anything too expensive and just something that they don't have to fill it around with. Well, tons of people were recommending this pen. So it takes, again, it can take the Pilot ones, but Majohn also has, they've copied the whole pen, so they've copied the filling mechanism as well. So it comes with blank cartridges. You can use Pilot cartridges. They have an eyedropper. You can fill this up with your favorite ink. It's a fairly large ink capacity. There also is a converter that fits in here, which mimics the Pilot Con 40. Doesn't hold as much ink, but it's a converter nonetheless, and it works quite well. Limiting factor with these pens is nib options. So right here, as you can see, extra fine is the main nib you can get with these pens. There is now a new A1, and I'll have links down in the description to distinguish between them. So this A1 looks like the other ones, but now they do have a fine nib option. There's a couple stores I found that sell the nibs on their own, but there's not many. But you know, it would be nice if they do offer more nib options. My fingers are crossed. Apparently there's some aftermarket ones you can get, like Architect nibs. Maybe there's some bent ones or stub ones, I'm not sure. But from the main sites that sell these, usually it's on like places like AliExpress. Extra fine or fine only in the new model. That's the only thing that's available. So that's sort of, to me, the only drawback. but the convenience, the form, the function, the overall build quality, these are fantastic. And for the price, I don't know how they're doing this, but they've done a fantastic job. Now, number 9 on the list is the Hongdian C1. Now, a little earlier, when I was talking about the Jinhao A2, you can get this with a bent nib. This is a pen that I've done this aftermarket, but I've equipped it with a bent nib. So I'm going to show you a little writing sample. That'll be the only writing sample here in the video. If you want to see writing samples of these pens, like I said, down below, I'll have links to full reviews I've done. I like this little pen. I think it's pretty cool. It sort of competes, not really, but for some reason I think of just a different Lamy Safari. It's fun, it's portable. The grip section is tubular, so that's not going to upset anyone. I don't know any grip that would be offended by that. It sort of has some flair to an old Parker pen, the Parker 51, which is super popular, has a hooded nib and sort of a feel like that, but it's its own design all on its own. So I really like it. Yellow is the favorite color. There's not a ton of colors, but yellow is my personal favorite. It does take a cartridge and converter. Again, I can't remember if this is international or if it's, I think it's the Jinhao size. I'll put information down in the comments down there. So you can do cartridges or converter. Comes with the converter. These are very reasonable priced as well. Again, depending where you buy it from, there's some places will have just the black one, only in one nib size. And I've seen them as low as I think $7 Canadian, somewhere in that range. If you want a few more nib options or color options, they're somewhere up maybe around $15, $16. So again, very reasonable, comfortable in the hand. I think they look cool. And you can go aftermarket and get some cool nibs. Now, one thing I will say, the negative with this pen, it's not amazing for sealing. All these other pens here, even the capless ones, seal quite well. A lot of these here, like this thing, you can just leave it forever. Kaweco Sport, I've left these for half a year and they write instantly. So this won't be a super great long-term sealing pen, but if you're going to use it for a daily carry, I think this thing is just great. I have one of these inked up all the time. It's with me all the time. I don't care if it gets scratched up. It's just a fun little pen to use, and I think it's super affordable and it looks cool. Before I get to pen number 10, I'm going to give an honorable mention to a pen I no longer have. I gave it away. So how Jinhao has their X159, which is very close to a Mont Blanc 149, Majohn has one called the P136, which is like the Mont Blanc 146. It's a piston filler pen, just like this Asvine P20 is. It's built extremely well. It looks good, thanks to the Mont Blanc design that they borrowed. But it's very well constructed. One rotation to turn the cap off, all sorts of great things. I ended up giving it away because it was a little bit small for my hand and the cap just didn't post very well. Maybe they've made some improvements. Great nib options. They even have stubs with it now, and it's priced extremely well, somewhere around the $30 to $40 Canadian. So US, it's going to be like a low $20, mid $20, something like that. Great pen. Let's get to number 10. And the last one on the list is this here. This is the WingSung 630. Now, just how Jinhao used the Mont Blanc 149 for their inspiration, well, WingSung did the same thing. There are two versions. So there's the classic cigar shape, which really looks like a Mont Blanc 149. They also have this flat top version, which I think is quite nice as well. Cool thing with the pen is if you like the steel nib version, now this goes for about 42 Canadian dollars. So again, that's going to be in and around 30 bucks US. If you really like this pen, there's all sorts of color options. You can do the rounded top like we see here or the flat top like we see there. It's a piston pen. We even got some brass components in there with the piston. Should you like that, you can go and upgrade, and that's even available with the gold nib. Now, these are large nibs on both these pens. Like this is the number 8 size style nib. Nib options aren't huge on the steel ones. Typically, it's just like a medium. Some show a fine, but usually it's just a medium. The gold nibs, you have some more nib options. You can go from extra fine, fine, medium. I've seen broads. There's even some long blade ones. There's hand polished nibs, all sorts of stuff as well. And for getting a gold nib, it's actually quite reasonable. A pen of this size with a piston fill and that large of a nib goes for about $220 Canadian, so whatever that is US. You can do the conversion. That's what Google's for. But this is sort of a neat thing. You can, start off basic and get a steel nib pen. Really, really enjoy it. I think it's reasonably priced, performs quite well, looks nice, all that great stuff. And if you want to, you can go ahead and step it up and get a gold nib. You can do the same thing with, say, the good old Lamy Safari here. You can buy a separate Lamy gold nib and put that on your favorite Safari. If you really enjoy that pen, which is quite cool, you can do the same thing with the WingSung pen as well. I like this one. Good size, reasonable, build quality is pretty good. So this is number 10. I said earlier I was going to do the writing sample with this bent nib. So here we go. I'll show you this really quick. How it works is a more vertical writing position. We have like an extra fine or fine nib. You go down a little bit more and we're starting to get some flare, which is quite nice. And you can go very flat and we get tons of character with this. Now I'm still not a master of this nib, but this thing, it can be quite amazing. You can have this huge kind of cool font that you want to do with this and really add flair. Maybe you just use it for underlining. You can hold it as a regular angle and print out a heading on here. And this would be great for notes, or if you're a teacher and want to make things stick out, you just change the writing angle of the pen and you get that characteristic with it as well. If again, check the description. Someone's going to ask, where'd you get those? There's a link down in there. Getting into fountain pens does not have to be super expensive. We have a ton of options on here on the table, as low as just a few dollars, and we're maxing out somewhere around 40 some odd Canadian dollars, or whatever, 32, 33 bucks US. So lots of great options, beautiful looking pens, whatever style you like, there is something for you. And you don't have to break the bank to get into the hobby. It doesn't have to be all about collecting beautiful gold nib pens that are made from exotic materials. These are lovely, but not everyone can do that. And especially when you're getting started, you don't need to spend that kind of money. Find something out of this mix here that resonates with you. And if you're curious about getting into the hobby, I would recommend any of these on here. I don't think you're going to have an issue. Thanks again for watching. Again, we'll chit chat down in their comments. I'll try my best to answer questions. A lot of them will be answered if you just browse the description. Don't forget about the giveaway. I'll just be randomly giving these away. Hopefully over the next, kind of week, maybe it'll take a week and a half, something like that. But we'll give 5 of these away. So don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't. And we'll catch you next time.